Good afternoon on what is a bright and slightly blustery day. It is Wednesday, October the 6th. I am back in the reading nook with parcels and, of course, a nice hot cup of tea. So the next one I'm going to open is this, and I'm just going to show you that. So that's come via Macmillan, so I know who this is from, and therefore I know what's in here, because I can tell by the packaging. I've been looking forward to seeing this one, so let's get this open. And so let's just show you that. Let me just see that. So pulling this forth, what we've got is Heirs to Heresy, The Fall of the Knights Templar. This is a role-playing game. It's from Osprey Games, and who've really sort of like put out they've put out 5 or 6 different role-playing games so far in the last couple of years that have been really quite interesting. Whether that's Sigil and Shadow, which is the urban horror role-playing game which came out last, Jackals, which is a Bronze Age role-playing game, and there are others essentially. So yeah, you'll find those Dark Places, of course, and you'll find reviews of all of those on my blog, and I've done unboxings as well. So this is by Alan Barr, who has published his own games under Knight Gallant imprint. So what's this one about? Heirs to Heresy, The Fall of the Knights Templar. Friday, 13th of October, 1307. The Knights Templar are awakened before dawn to find themselves under attack, denounced as traitors and heretics by the King of France. 30 knights are charged with carrying the fabled Templar treasure far from Paris, and with protecting it as they seek the sanctuary of the mystical realm of Avlanoir. You are one of those knights. Heirs to Heresy combines classic adventuring with narrative storytelling in a historical fantasy role-playing game. As a Knights Templar, your skill at arms is unquestioned, but it is your esoteric gifts, divine blessings, intensely powerful faith, or command of Gnostic magics that truly set you apart. On your journey across a dark mythic Europe, you will face fearsome foes, drawn by the power of the mysterious treasure you guard, and uncover some of the Templars' deepest secrets. This is your final quest. The fate of the Templars hangs upon your actions. Will you fall to the enemies that hound you, or survive to answer the burning question, are the Templars heir to heresy? Now, the Knights Templar is an organisation that protected religious sites in the Levant, in the Christendom, in Holy Country or Holy Lands, in sort of like the early medieval period, and they also protected pilgrims who were travelling to the Holy Land, and they also provided banking services as well. They were one of the first major banks, and basically providing letters of credit. And they came to be very powerful because of their money and their influence, and the fact that they were separate from basically they were sanctioned by the Pope, and they had lands all across Europe that were given essentially as gifts by various members of the nobility and royalty and so on. And therefore it is basically a major historical event. It's all documented, and there are lots of conspiracy theories about it, and I'm not going to go into any of those because really that's not quite the subject of the role-playing game. I mean, I say that it is, but it's exploring it in the immediate rather than its consequences, which is what I mean. So yeah, Dan Brown fans, look away now. So what we've got here is, first off, this is the Europe of 1307 when it happens, and essentially the player characters, they start off in Paris, and they basically set out for perhaps Portugal or England or Scotland. They may go down to basically Cyprus or Crete as well. Those are all options for them in trying to basically get across Europe. And guess it will have some really nice artwork. I'll show you what the player characters, the sample player characters look like, because we've got some in the back here. So let's have a look. So characters of fairly diverse backgrounds and genders. in here, but they are all devout Catholics. They have to be they have to be members of the church to be Templars. So this is a historical fantasy game. It is not a historical role-playing game. It's not specifically historical because it does involve characters of different genders who are members of the Templars and different backgrounds, and also it involves magic. So, you will find essentially it's very quite a nice simple system. You are rolling 2d10, adding a skill and a stat to achieve most things, so it's fairly straightforward. And one of the things in here, let's have a look. We've got a bit of history, and the style and look of the book is really nice and open. It's a lot less compact than you'll find with other Osprey Games books. So it's quite easy to read, and there are notes scattered throughout, like there's a basic box text on other religious military orders and so on. But essentially what you've got, this is really a toolkit to run a campaign. It's got a story in the back where the characters wake up, the compound or the stronghold in Paris is under attack by French forces, and they are directed to take the treasure away from Paris. And that's essentially, after that, the Grandmaster, or as the GM is known, is essentially develops the campaign on her own, and essentially the length of the campaign is dictated primarily by the distance. The further away the player characters need to get, then the longer the campaign. But you have, let me see, to help that you basically, as well as the campaign length, the Grandmaster also needs to decide the degree of what Avaloir is, and there's numerous options given for that. What degree of magic elements or magical elements will be found in the campaign, and things like who founded the Templars and what they want and what their secrets are. So are they guardians of the Grail? Are they guardians of the lineage of Christ? Idol worshippers? Gnostic knights? Or were they simply working towards having a Templar nation state? Those are all options, and this means that it may well be the nature of the treasure they've been carrying might be the Holy Grail, or Solomon's library and seal, or even an idol of Baphomet, if they're idol worshippers, as they were accused of being, and that's what ultimately led to their downfall at the hands of Philip, King of France. And there are multiple different esoteric and magical powers, and many of these are keyed into those items. So, for example, if a character wants to learn spells, then it's likely he will need access to the Grail, because his piety, his faith will dictate, basically, will grant him gifts by essentially drinking from the Grail and learning spells. Then the other options include he might learn blessings from the saints and more. And then you have martial esoterica, which can be acquired through simple training, and so on. So there's everything in here which the GM, the Grandmaster, needs to start a campaign of this. And really, by putting those elements together, the degree of magic and esoterica, because you can play it straight without, or you can have sort of like an elements of it, or you can go completely in on it and say, yes, they all exist. And the nature of what the treasure is, and the distance they've got to take it, means that each campaign can be different. It does, however, ultimately means that this is not a game you can play sort of like in the very long term. It's not a game that can be kept going for years and years. It's multiple sessions, but not necessarily a long-term game, and that's fine because you don't always need that kind of thing. and you know, so essentially it also lends itself to sort of like episodic television. So you know, if you want to do something like, I mean, basically location or site of the week, or you know, or even vaguely monster or threat of the week, you would perhaps look at something like The Fugitive, because essentially that's what the characters are in here. Or look at, say, The Incredible Hulk, essentially, because you know, the lone wanderers going across Europe, you know, like the TV series of old with Bill Bixby. But yeah, so that's everything that they would need to play a campaign like that using Heirs to Heresy. It's basically everything that a Grandmaster and her players need, and it's very nicely produced. The artwork is excellent, and it's easy to play, easy to read. Again, it more or less comes up. The campaign will ultimately come down to what the Grandmaster decides she wants to put into it in terms of research and the route the players want to take, because that's sort of like what needs to be developed each session. So yeah, Heirs to Heresy, Fall of the Knights Templar. That's literally just come out from Osprey Games and should be available now. And there's a blog there. There's a link to the review in the notes down there. So thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. If you've enjoyed this, please do click the like button. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, then I appreciate you taking the time to post those, and I do read them and respond as necessary. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me with a parcel and a book, which I will talk about for to the extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all accompanied, of course, by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do hit that subscribe button. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching another unboxing in the Nook video, and I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.